I heard the audible voice of God. Just like Samuel in the Bible, I believe. But back in May of 2013, I had gotten up a little late, was racing along, trying to get ready for church this morning. I had just enough time to go running, eat my breakfast, take a shower, and I was in the process of eating my breakfast when I decided I had a little bit of time I could listen to this praise and worship album that I had received 2 months before and still hadn't listened to. So I plugged it in, turned it on, and was listening to it as I was eating the cereal that I had in front of me. And from out of nowhere, I heard a voice that said, "You're going to sing this song today in church." And it was so audible to me that I knew it was God, because I had had enough relationship with God to realize that it had to be. And so I responded by saying, "Thank you." So I finished eating my cereal and such, and hurried to church, got there probably on time or barely, and the worship leader started leading worship. He was a young man in his 20s or early 20s, and he started playing music, worship music that unfortunately had been used so many times and had been played over and over that it was meaningless to me. It had been played for the last decade, and I wasn't getting into it. So frankly, I didn't pay attention to it. I pulled out the book that I was reading, the Christian book that I was reading, and started to read it, and let the song go by, and because it was just so meaningless to me. And then another song started, and it was another one that was way overused for the last decade by everybody. I don't remember the names of them, but overused. And so I was reading along, and after he finished the second song, he said, "This week is the pastor's birthday, and in honor of the pastor's birthday, I decided that I would do his favorite song for worship this week." And he said, "I didn't know the song, so I've had to learn it this week, and I don't know it real well, so I need your assistance in singing it." So then that perked up my ears, because this was something unusual and different, and he started into the song. And in fact, it was the song that God had said we were going to sing, I was going to sing that day in church. The song was "How Great Thou Art," which is a great song. It's always been one of my favorites as well. And I stood up to sing the song and started singing it, was thinking about it, and after just a little bit, I couldn't hold it together. I was crying at that point, realizing that the God of the universe, the God who created all of the universe, had specifically spoken to me to tell me this. Yet it wasn't about me saving 1 million people. It wasn't about me, parting the Red Sea or something extreme. It was simply telling me that I was going to sing this song in church today. And I was just breaking up. I couldn't hold it together. I was crying. Tears were coming out of my eyes. I couldn't sing the verse, so I'd stop and was thinking about it. And then I pulled myself together, and I thought, okay, I could sing. So I started singing again. And as soon as I started just breaking up and couldn't sing it anymore. And as I was thinking, why did God do this for me? Why did God speak specifically to me? And I thought about it, and I decided that it was because I know God well enough. I know God on a scientific basis. I feel I can prove God scientifically and show God to people scientifically. And I get excited about the prophecies that came true in the Bible and all types of things when I'm leading a group, and I'm surprised when other people aren't so excited about some of the things that I got excited about. And as I was thinking about this, I was thinking, God is reminding me that I need to always teach the people that God wants to have this kind of relationship with us. He wants to have a relationship of talking to Him and Him talking to us. That He wants this type of relationship like Adam and Eve had before the fall of man, where they could talk to Him and walk with Him in the garden. So that's what I came up with on that, and decided that this was the reason that God was telling me this, to always remember to tell people that He wants a personal relationship, not a far off in the sky relationship, but He wants an actual personal relationship with each and every one of us, as a father to a son, as a father to a daughter, because He loves each of us dearly, and loved me enough to tell me something that was relatively, in the scheme of things, meaningless, didn't change much, but was nonetheless Him talking to me. Well, that was wonderful, and of course I'll remember that always. But strangely enough, the next day I was invited to take my daughter to a military dining in, or they called it a military ball, on Friday. And I said, sure, I'd love to take my daughter to this. I'd love to take you to this, because it was honoring to me, and I love to honor her and spend time with her. And so I picked her up on Friday to take her to this. And from out of the blue, as I was driving her over to this military ball, she asked me, Dad, has God ever spoken to you? And I was shocked. Frankly, I was shocked. Because we, my two children and I, had never had this conversation before. Anything like that. I'd never had God speak to me before. And this was completely out of the blue. And her talking to me about this and bringing it up. And I said, yes, I just did this week. Why do you ask? And she said, because my best friend was sitting at lunch, and she heard God tell her that she was to invite this gal across the table from her to church. And she had told my daughter about it, and my daughter was asking me about it. And I realized that God was using this miracle, His talking to me on Sunday, to teach my daughter this about having a relationship with God, and that He apparently wanted her to know that, yes, in fact, God does speak to us. And if you're listening to me right now, I want to encourage each of you that God wants to have a personal, loving relationship with you. He wants to talk to you. He wants to listen to you. He wants you to know His will for your life. And the way you do that is by reading the Bible, by reading His words of instruction, His instruction manual to us, that tell the meaning of life, that tell His ways so that we can walk in them. And He's promised that if we walk in His ways, He will bless us. And if we walk in His ways, He will reveal Himself to us. If we seek God with all our hearts and keep on seeking Him, He will reveal Himself to you. Remember that. Talk to Him. Talk to God in prayer, which is simply talking to God. And if you really want a relationship with God, if you really desire righteousness and want that relationship with God, He will reveal Himself to you if you ask Him to. That's what I have for you today, and I appreciate your listening to me. I hope to hear from you how God has talked to you also. Perhaps in this way, perhaps in another way. God bless you. Have a great day. Goodbye.